Hare Krishna, invocation prayers, please.
Hare Krishna. Om Ajnanatimandasya Jnananjana Salakya Chakshur Anmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manabhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahim Tadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guruve Shri Guru Tapada Kamalam Shri Guru Vaishnava Shri Rupam Sagarajitam Sagagana Raghunathavitam Tam Sajiva Satvaitam Savatutam Parnyana Sagitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sagagana Lalita Sri Visagavincha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopisa Gopikanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radha Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranam Haripriye Vanchakalpatar Tarvicha Kripa Sindhu Vivacha Patitanam Pavine Bio Vaishnava Bio Namo Namaga Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Sri Vasadi Gauravatta Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jai Shri Krishna.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna, thank you all for coming. Quick announcements. His Grace Chaitanya Chandas is physically going to be in Toronto this week. So devotees, you all together with other batch devotees, you can consider to go meet with him collectively. He already knows about us. Many of the devotees have met him earlier also. You can again try to meet with him and consider to reciprocate by giving him some Lakshmi. Again, that's up to you. The second announcement is you have on screen for batch 3 and 4, Bhagavad Gita revision is starting from June 1st, 2 chapters every week. So Sanjaya has taught us in Bhagavad Gita 18.76-77 with the words again and again, that Sanjaya also remembered Bhagavad Gita instructions again and again to relish more and more of Bhagavad Gita and to remember Krishna more and more. Plus in Srimad Bhagavatam 1.15.27, Arjuna has also taught us the exact same point, that when Arjuna was in distress, because Krishna went back to Goloka Vrindavan, hence Arjuna simply remembered Bhagavad Gita instructions. And Arjuna got pacified by association of Krishna because Krishna is absolute. Krishna and Krishna's words are identical. Therefore, in Srimad Bhagavatam 1.15.27 purport, it explains that Bhagavad Gita is sound representation of Krishna. One gets the same benefit from reading and remembering Bhagavad Gita as Arjuna got from the personal presence of the Lord. So you all can consider to join this additional sessions. You have the time, so it's Toronto time 7 a.m. India time is 4:30 p.m. on Sundays from June 1st onwards. Questions, comments?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, can I just ask a question?
Mm-hmm.
Definitely we were considering, I had just had a chat with Auntie about meeting His Grace Chaitanya Charan Prabhu and, giving reciprocating by giving Lakshmi. So I was just wondering, how do I coordinate with the other batches, Prabhu?
So I'm going to announce all the classes today and tomorrow, and I will let them know to connect with you.
Yeah, that will be better, Prabhu, so that we can go together.
Yeah, and you can collect all the Lakshmi in one, and a Vaishnav devotee can hand him over because he's a monk. And
Yes.
all of you can just meet collectively, get guidance.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Very good. All right, so today we will continue Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, and we will start Chapter 7. We'll cover Chapter 7 in today's class and next class. And we will finish this Chapter 7 and Unit 15 in our next class. And towards the end of our class, I'll explain about the presentations coming up for this unit. But before that, you can all explain one or more points and ask one or more questions.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. I can just try to answer the first question which you had given, which was, why is the Lord sometimes called Tirtha Pada? So the meaning of Tirtha is sanctified place, and Pada means the lotus feet of the Lord. So anything, any place, anything which is in touch with the lotus feet of the Lord immediately becomes purified and sanctified. And especially for a pure devotee, because he's 24/7 thinking about the lotus feet of the Lord and rendering devotional service, wherever he is, that place is sanctified. Whereas for the others who are in the process, visiting holy places and holy dham, that is okay for them, but for pure devotee, they don't have to do any of these things because they already have that place is already sanctified, Prabhu.
All right, very good.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. The second question: how does a devotee consider the calamitous condition? In this verse, it says that Tatti Muktam Padam
Hare Krishna.
Susamika Mano. When a devotee is in calamitous condition, he takes it as a benediction of the Supreme Lord. And he takes responsibility himself for his past misdeeds. In such a condition, he offers still more devotional service and is not disturbed. One who lives in such a disposition of mind, engaged in devotional service, the most eligible candidate for promotion to the spiritual world. Such a devotee claims for promotion to the spiritual world is assured in all circumstances. That's what I felt.
Okay, very good, very good. Remembrance of all the tiny details. Very good taking notes from the classes and remembering and reciting. Very good.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, I will share my realization on question 3. Before that, I wish to add in question 1, most of it Shami has covered, but I would like to share one more important thing which I learned from one of the homeworks, the sacrifice performed by Daksha, in which I learned such a pure devotee like Vidura always feels the presence of the Lord everywhere, since Lord's omnipresence is perceived by him. Due to the presence of unalloyed pure devotee, the place also becomes a place of pilgrimage anywhere in the universe. Tirtha Kuruva Tirumani. That is my additional understanding.
Okay, very good.
And question 3 describe some of the difficulties of performing Vedic spiritual activities in Kali Yuga. As per Vedic literature, activities to satisfy the Supreme Lord, and validation is in everyone's duty to see whether Supreme Personality of Godhead is satisfied by one's activity. Everyone, therefore, should work for the satisfaction of the Lord, is called yajna. One should invite people and distribute prasada, which will satisfy all the demigods. Hence, peace and prosperity shall prevail in the world. Hence, one should be very, very careful to ensure that every demigod and not to fail to satisfy even one demigod out of thousands, just like Yaksha who failed to satisfy Lord Shiva. Therefore, there was disaster. Hence, in this age of Kali Yuga, it is simplified. One can chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra. By pleasing Krishna, Lord Krishna, one can satisfy all the demigods. Hare Krishna, this is my realization.
Okay, very good. Sankirtan Yajna is the Yajna for Kali Yuga. Very good. Mother Jija.
It is difficult to perform all the yajnas because it is costly, Prabhuji.
Yeah,
So
very good.
nobody likes to.
Yeah, nobody is qualified and it's very costly to perform Yajna. Therefore, it's in Kali Yuga, it's simplified to simply chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Very good. What else?
Rabiji, question for anyone is sharing. Otherwise, I would like to share my realization.
You can go ahead.
Question 4. Analogy that government has both educational department and criminal department. As an outsider may consider crime departments inauspicious, whereas some government point of view, criminal department as important as educational department. Therefore, government finds an equally important. The answer, the word Shiva Sakti is significant here. Shiva means auspicious, Sakti means energy. All types of energies of the Supreme Lord is auspicious. Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwara are called the Guna avatars, or incarnation of material qualities, which we compare and consider one quality of nature to be higher or lower. The mode of ignorance, tamaguna, is considered very much lower, but in higher sense, it is also auspicious. So, therefore, both are very important, equally important. Hare Krishna.
All right, very good. Any questions, anybody?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, I had a question regarding this particular answer. So, understanding that the Guna avatars, Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh, and their respective roles of maintenance, creation, annihilation, and then the criminal departments, I understood, Prabhu. But then in the material world, definitely the lowest mode is mode of ignorance, and it is not auspicious, no, Prabhu, anybody who's doing anything in the mode of ignorance. Just had this clarification.
Yeah, so the activities influenced by the mode of ignorance, yes, you can say that they are not auspicious. But understand that they are exhausting their bad karma. Right? So in that sense that they are exhausting, and at some point they will get so much troubled by the miseries that they will turn to God. So in a sense, they are identical, that they are just all the modes are just there to facilitate the desires of the jiva, good, bad, or ugly. Shalini.
Yes, Prabhu. So even if one is in the mode of ignorance, if like as you had explained earlier, the default setting is to continue doing whatever bad things because of whatever past karma. But there is we have the will, or if Lord Krishna's mercy is there, we can always change that into the better mode, no, Prabhu?
Yeah, you are correct. I mean, it's not just Lord's will, but it's our own free will also, which is the starting point to change from the default lower mode setting to a higher mode. So our free will is our starting point to change.
Yes, Prabhu. Our free will is starting point, and then Lord Krishna's mercy also. We have to be connected, no, Prabhu. Others will continue in the default setting.
Yeah, without mercy, nothing can happen. So mercy is by default.
All right. Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you.
Anybody else? All right. Canto 4, Chapter 7 is titled The Sacrifice Performed by Daksha. Is divided into 6 parts. Part 1, verses 1 to 12. Lord Shiva revives Daksha's life. Part 2, verses 13 to 15. Daksha's prayer unto Lord Shiva. Part 3, verses 16 to 25. Daksha starts sacrifice and Lord Vishnu arrives. Part 4, verses 26 to 47. The demigods offer prayers to Lord Vishnu. Part 5, verses 48 to 54. The Lord instructs Daksha. Part 6, verses 55 to 61. Daksha completes the sacrifice. So this is just a continuation from earlier that how Daksha did not invite Shiva and in the process insulted Shiva, and then there was a fight at the sacrifice, and Virabhadra came and destroyed Daksha's sacrifice. And now Brahmaji comes and satisfies or pacifies, not satisfies, but pacifies Shiva and asks Shiva to forgive Daksha. And that discussion continues now in terms of action, that Lord Shiva will revive Daksha's life. So portion of this we discussed earlier, that Shiva is the greatest Vaishnava, and then still Shiva goes on to destroy Daksha's sacrifice and kill Daksha. How do we understand this? We already discussed that Lord Shiva's punishment of the demigods is not out of envy, but the punishment is like how the father punishes the son to rectify the son. So we'll read verses 1, 2, translation and purport. Is our dear Aditi able to read chapter 7, verses 1 and 2, translation and purport?
Yes, Prabhuji, Hare Krishna. Chapter 1, translation. The sage Maitreya said, O mighty armed Vidura, Lord Shiva, being thus pacified by the words of Lord Brahma, spoke as follows in answer to Lord Brahma's request. Should I read the purport, Prabhuji?
Yeah, text 2 and purport. Text 1 does not have purport.
Text. Translation and purport.
The first one.
Text 2.
Yeah. Lord Shiva said, My dear father Brahma, I do not mind the offenses created by the demigods, because these demigods are childish and less intelligent. I do not take a serious view of their offenses, and I have punished them only in order to right them. Purport. There are two types of punishment. One is that which a conqueror imposes on an enemy, and the other is like that a father imposes on his son. There is a gulf of difference between these two kinds of punishment. Lord Shiva is by nature a Vaishnava, a great devotee, and his name in the connection is Asutosha. He is always satisfied, and therefore he did not become angry as if he were an enemy. He is not inimical to any living entity. Rather, he always wishes the welfare of all. Whenever he chastises a person, it is just like a father's punishment of his son. Lord Shiva is like a father because he never takes seriously any offense by any living entities, especially the demigods. Hare Krishna.
All right, very good. So we already discussed this at our last class and briefly now also, that there is a gulf of difference between the punishment imposed by a conqueror on an enemy and like that of a father imposes on a son. So Shiva by nature is a Vaishnava, great devotee. Therefore, his name is also Ashutosh, that he can be easily satisfied. And he is always satisfied, and therefore he did not really become angry as an enemy becomes angry. He actually wishes welfare for all. And therefore Shiva's chastisement of demigods or any person is just like father's punishment of his son. Lord Shiva is like a father because he never takes any offenses seriously, any offenses by any living entities, especially the demigods. And the next few verses, Shiva satisfies Brahmaji's request. So Brahmaji has asked to forgive Daksha, and this is what Shiva is going to do. So we'll read verses 3, 4, 5 translations, and I'll explain the reasons as to who got what punishment for what reason. Shalini, 3, 4, 5 translations.
Hare Krishna. Text 3. Lord Shiva continued, since the head of Daksha has already been burned to ashes, he will have the head of a goat. the demigod known as Bhaga will be able to see his share of sacrifice through the eyes of Mitra. Text 4. The demigod Pusa will be able to chew only through the teeth of his disciples, and if alone, he will have to satisfy himself by eating dough made from chickpea flour. But the demigods who have agreed to give me my share of the sacrifice will recover from all their injuries. Text 5. Those who have had the arms cut off will have to work with the arms of Ashwini Kumara, and those whose hands were cut off will, will have to do their work with the hands of Pusa. The priests will also have to act in that manner. As for Brigu, he will have the beard from the goat's head. Hare Krishna.
So Daksha gets a goat's head because he had the words and intelligence of a goat. Basically, didn't have any intelligence. Bhaga saw his portion of sacrifice, and now he's going to see his sacrifice through the eyes of Mitra, because Bhaga's eyes were contaminated with fault and devoid of spiritual vision. So Pusa chewed through the teeth of his disciple. So Daksha is the disciple, or they eat chickpea dough if he is alone. So why he got this punishment is that he has shown his teeth at the devotees and laughed at them. So therefore, the relevant punishment and then the demigods who agreed to give Shiva his share will have their limbs restored, because they did not side with Daksha when Daksha criticized Shiva. And then verse number 5. That the priest and others work with the arms of Ashwini Kumara and the hands of Pusa, because they favored Daksha by raising their arms and shouting. And Bhrigu will have the mustache of a goat, because he was the chief advisor of Daksha. Shalini?
Hare Krishna Prabhu. No, I just had one clarification. So Shiva is still, there is some punishment which is meted out, no, Prabhu, to Daksha, because if it's a goat head and all, not that he's completely forgiven him.
So you are correct. So just as father punishes, right? So father doesn't just forgive. If there is no punishment, then the son will never change. So here something has to change. So yes, he gets his life back, but with a goat's head. And there is a further discussion about the goat's head coming up. So yes, there is punishment, but it's not the punishment like that of an enemy. Charlie?
Yes, Prabhu, thank you.
Everybody on the same page?
Yes, Prabhuji.
All right.
This is just for correcting it. Is it correct, Prabhu?
Yeah, you are correct. So like we all have been punished by our parents at some point of time, right? So the parent does not hate us. They're just trying to rectify us. So they will give us some punishment so that we remember, oh, if I do this mistake again, I will get punished. So better I don't do the mistake. Everybody on the same page?
Yes, Prabhu.
All right. So we'll read verse number 5 purport, and there are 2 points. First, I will explain. I'll ask and explain, and then I'll also give you what you need to find the answer for. So in verse number 5 purport, Srila Prabhupada explains an important principle that soul is the cause of intelligence, and not what scientists think that the brain is the cause of intelligence. So here's a question for you all. From Bhagavad Gita chapter 13 discussion, anyone remembers the discussion that brain is just a gadget? Anybody? You see, we forget, and that was the reason I mentioned at the start that we have to keep revising Bhagavad Gita, so we don't forget. We have had a very important analogy discussed in Bhagavad Gita chapter 13, that brain is just a gadget. That example is that child presses the start stop button to play with a toy. This toy is a very preliminary technology. If a child is given a sophisticated laptop with all kinds of applications, the child's intelligence is limited. Therefore, the child will not be able to do much with that sophisticated laptop. Point is that it is not that just the technology gadgets that are important. But along with that, there has to be an evolved intelligence which can use these gadgets. So animals may not be able to do philosophical thought because animals' brain is not developed. Still, the brain is just a facility. Brain is just a gadget. Beyond the gadget, the conscious soul is using the facility for more deep thinking. And soul is the source of consciousness. And the soul has to use the brain. Human brain has much more capacity, but still the human brain is still a gadget, is just a tool. Yes, human brain is more sophisticated than the tool which the animal brain has, or animal brain itself is a tool or a gadget. But no matter how sophisticated the tool may be, meaning how sophisticated the brain as a gadget may be, still it is the person using the tool also has to have that capacity, that skill to use the sophisticated gadget. And everybody got refreshed with this analogy?
Yes, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhuji.
All right.
Which is practical because intelligence evolves over a period of time.
Yeah. So now what has happened is that Daksha is a human, but now he has a goat's head. So we'll read verse number 5 purport and try to find the answer for this, that what general principle does Srila Prabhupada draw from the exchange of Daksha's head with that of a goat? Shalini, verse number 5 purport.
Hare Krishna. Bhrigu Muni, a great supporter of Daksha, was awarded the bear the beard of a goat head, which was substituted for the head of Daksha. It appears from the exchange of Daksha's head that the modern scientific theory that the brain substance is the cause of all intelligent work is not valid. The brain substance of Daksha and that of a goat are different, but Daksha still acted like himself even though his head was replaced by that of a goat. The conclusion is that it is the particular consciousness of an individual soul which acts. The brain substance is only an instrument which has nothing to do with real intelligence. The real intelligence, mind, and consciousness are part of the particular individual soul. It will be found in the verses ahead that after Daksha's head was replaced by the goat's head, he was as intelligent as he had previously been. He prayed very nicely to satisfy Lord Shiva and Lord Vishnu, which is not possible for a goat to do so. Therefore, it is definitely concluded that the brain substance is not the center of intelligence. It is the consciousness of a particular soul that works intelligently. The whole movement of Krishna consciousness is to purify the consciousness. It doesn't matter what kind of brain one has, because if he simply transfers his consciousness from matter to Krishna, his life becomes successful. It is confirmed by the Lord himself in Bhagavad Gita that anyone who takes up Krishna consciousness achieves the highest perfection of life, regardless of whatever abominable condition of life he may have fallen into. Specifically, anyone in Krishna consciousness goes back to Godhead, back to home, on leaving his present material body. Hare Krishna.
Did you find the answer? What general principle does Srila Prabhupada draw from the exchange of Daksha's head with that of a goat?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Yes, Prabhu. The brain substance is not the center of intelligence, Prabhu. It's the consciousness of a particular soul.
Okay, very good. So, Daksha got a head of a goat, an animal, but Daksha was still functioning normally like a human. Why? Because soul directs everything. So modern scientists think that brain is the cause of intelligence. That is not valid. The brain substance of Daksha as a human and the brain substance of goat as an animal are different. Still, Daksha acted like himself as a human, even though his head was replaced by that of a goat. Therefore, the conclusion is that a particular consciousness of an individual soul which actually acts. Brain substance is only an instrument. It has nothing to do with real intelligence. The real intelligence, mind and consciousness are part of a particular individual soul. So after Daksha's head was replaced by goat's head, he continued to be as intelligent as before. Daksha prayed very nicely to satisfy Lord Shiva and Lord Vishnu, which is not possible for a goat to do. Therefore, it is definitely concluded that the brain substance is not the center of intelligence. It is the consciousness of a particular soul that works intelligently. And Krishna conscious movement is to purify the consciousness. It doesn't matter what kind of brain one has, because if he simply transfers his consciousness from matter to Krishna, then his life is successful.
Prabhuji, Once again, could you please repeat these three sentences?
Which sentence you're referring to, uncle?
You said brain substance is not the center of intelligence, starting with that.
Yeah. Brain substance is only an instrument which has nothing to do with real intelligence. Real intelligence, mind, and consciousness are part of particular individual soul. After Daksha's head was replaced with a goat's head, Daksha was as intelligent as before. Therefore, Daksha very nicely satisfied Lord Shiva and Vishnu, and this was not possible for a goat to do. Therefore, conclusion is brain substance is not the center of intelligence. It is the consciousness of a particular soul that works intelligently. Uncle?
Beautiful concept, and it is a new concept. I realize. So, whatever the sins we commit, knowingly or unknowingly, it is due to the soul, then the consciousness of the soul and not the brain. Correct, Prabhuji?
Yeah, so we commit sins because of desires and misuse of our free will. Soul is pure, but the contamination of our desires and contamination with the association of modes causes us the ignorance which leads to wrong activities. Soul's original desire is Satchidananda.
So, these desires are the catalyst.
Correct. Shalini.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Prabhu, just to, when you were explaining, just I was just trying to relate, like there are so many such sincere, pure devotees of the Lord, Prabhu. They may not have any material qualification, or not material is irrelevant, may not have so many degrees or so-called whatever material world degrees, but then the devotion to Krishna is so strong, Prabhu.
Yes, you are correct. And Krishna says this in Bhagavad Gita 10.10, Tadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam payanti te. That whosoever is devoted and doing devotional service with love and devotion, Krishna gives the intelligence. So the line before Tadami buddhi yogam tam, it says bhajatam priti purvakam, that whosoever is engaged in devotional service with loving devotion, to them Krishna gives intelligence, whether or not they have gone through material world education. Just as gopis and gopas of Vrindavan, they never studied any of the scriptures, but their devotion is so high. So, correct point. Everybody on the same page?
Yes, Prabhu.
Now, verse number 6 describes the story of Sanatan Goswami keeping a very costly touchstone in garbage. Many of you must have heard about this, and here it directly comes from, to emphasize that Hare Krishna Maha Mantra is more valuable than the most costliest of touchstone. Mother Jija will read 6 translation and purport.
Text 6. The great sage Maitreya said, My dear Vidura, all the personalities present were very much satisfied in heart and soul upon hearing the words of Lord Shiva, who is the best among the Benedictors. Purport. In the verse, Lord Shiva is described as Midustana, Tama, the best of the Benedictors. He is known as Ashutosha, which indicates that he is very quickly satisfied and very quickly angered. It is said in Bhagavad Gita that less intelligent persons go to the demigods for material benedictions. In this connection, people generally go to Lord Shiva, and because he is always quickly satisfied and gives benedictions to his devotees without consideration, he is called Midustama, or the best of the benedictors. Materialistic persons are always anxious to get material profit, but they are not serious about spiritual profit. Sometimes, of course, it so happens that Lord Shiva becomes the best benedictor in spiritual life. It is said that once a poor Brahmana worshipped Lord Shiva for a benediction, and Lord Shiva advised the devotee worship to go to Sanatana Goswami. The devotee went to Sanatana Goswami and informed him that Lord Shiva had advised him to seek out best benediction from him, Sanatana. Sanatana had a touchstone with him, which he kept with garbage. On the request of the poor Brahmana, Sanatana Goswami gave him the touchstone, and the Brahmana was very happy to have it. He now could not he now could get as much gold as he desired simply by touching the touchstone to iron. But after he left Sanatana, he thought, if touchstone is the best benediction, why has Sanatana Goswami kept it with the garbage? He therefore returned and asked Sanatana Goswami, Sir, if this is the best benediction, why did you keep it with the garbage? Sanatana Goswami then informed him, actually, this is not the best benediction, but you are prepared to take the best benediction from me. The Brahmana said, Yes, sir, Lord Shiva has sent me to you for the best benediction. Then Sanatana Goswami asked him to throw the touchstone into the water nearby and then come back. The poor Brahmana did so, and when he returned, Sanatana Goswami initiated him with the Hare Krishna mantra. Thus, by the benediction of Lord Shiva, the Brahmana got the association of the best devotee of Lord Krishna and was thus initiated in the Maha Mantra Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
So you must have already heard about this story. It's right here. Any questions, comments, realizations? Verses 7 and 8 are straightforward. Mother Chandra Aunty will read 7 and 8 translations.
Hare Krishna, text 7. Therefore, thereafter, Bhrigu, the chief of the great sages, invited Lord Shiva to come to the sacrifice arena. Thus, the demigods, accompanied by the sages, the Lord and the Lord Brahma, all went to the place where the great sacrifice was being performed. Text 8. After everything was executed exactly as directed by Lord Shiva, Daksha's body was joined to the head of an animal meant to be killed in the sacrifice. Hare Krishna.
Okay. Now, verse number 9 explains, Srila Prabhupada explains in verse 9 purport that consciousness is individual and consciousness remains the same even when bodily condition change. So as we read through verse 9 and 9 translation and purport, try to answer this question that what is Prabhupada explaining about consciousness. Uncle will read 9 translation and purport.
Text 9, Hare Krishna. When the animal's head was fixed on the body of King Daksha, Daksha was immediately brought to consciousness. And as he awakened from sleep, the king saw Lord Shiva standing before him. Purport. The example given here is that Daksha got up as if he were awakened from deep sleep. In Sanskrit, this is called Supta Ivotastadu, meaning is that after a man awakens from sleep, he immediately remembers all the duties which he must execute. Daksha was killed and his head was taken away and burned to ashes. His body was lying dead, but by the grace of Lord Shiva, as soon as the head of a goat was joined to the body, Daksha came back to the consciousness again. This indicates that consciousness is also individual. Daksha actually took another body when he took on the head of a goat. But because consciousness is individual, his consciousness remained the same, although his bodily condition changed. Thus, bodily construction has nothing to do with the development of consciousness. Consciousness is carried with the transmigration of the soul. There are many instances in Vedic history, such as the case of Maharaja Bharata. After quitting his body as a king, Maharaja Bharata was transferred to the body of a deer, but he retained the same consciousness. He knew that although formerly he was the king Bharata, he had been transferred to the body of a deer because of his absorption in thinking of a deer at the time of his death. In spite of his having a body of a deer, however, his consciousness was as good as it was the body of a king Bharata. The arrangement by the Lord is so nice that if a person's consciousness is turned into Krishna consciousness, there is no doubt that in his next life he will be a great devotee of Krishna, even if he is of a different type of body. Hare Krishna.
What realizations you have? What's the answer about consciousness? Prabhupada explains.
Hare Krishna.
Always we have heard that at the time of death, remember in between the eyebrows, Lord Krishna. And that is what is reinforced by this verse, according to my realization.
Okay. Shalini.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Not only at the time of death, it's like I was trying to connect between whatever we have discussed earlier. So the consciousness, when we are whatever spiritual credits or benedictions which we get during this lifetime, Prabhu, irrespective of whatever body we get later, the consciousness, we continue the Krishna consciousness from where we have left, Prabhu. So it's further reinforcing that. So the body is not important. It's whatever the soul gathers during this lifetime and others.
Okay, very good. Yeah. Consciousness is individual and consciousness remains the same even when bodily condition change. This is the main point of this verse. That Daksha got the head of a goat, but he was still acting like he was Daksha before. Of course, better that now he was not offensive because of the little punishment that he got. So consciousness is individual and consciousness remain the same even when bodily condition change. This is the main point, that when we change our body, our consciousness continues and our spirituality that we have done, that continues as well. Questions, comments, realizations?
Hare Krishna Prabhu. One more thing to add is, we've earlier also in Bhagavad Gita also we studied that we've learned that depending on how much of spirituality we get in this life, there is possibility of us to take birth in a devotee family. So, okay, the body, no problem. It's okay. I understood. I'm just confused a little bit. I understood, Prabhu. It's fine.
All right. So Shalini is referring to Bhagavad Gita 6.41-42. In 6.40, Krishna says that you don't lose spirituality and which life you get. 6.41 says that if you had a lot of enjoying mentality, then you first go to heaven, enjoy, and then come back and continue. And 6.42 says that if you have done a lot of spirituality, then you right away take birth among elevated devotees in devotee family and you just continue from where you left off. All right. Verses 10, 11, 12 are straightforward. Kalyani, 10, 11, 12 translations.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Krishna.
10, 11 and 12. Yes. At that time, when Daksha saw Lord Shiva, who rides upon a bull, his heart, which was polluted by envy of Lord Shiva, was immediately cleansed, just as the water in a lake is cleansed by autumn rains. 11. King Daksha wanted to offer praise to Lord Shiva, but as he remembered the ill-fated death of his daughter Sati, his eyes filled with tears, and in bereavement his voice choked up, and he could not say anything. Text 12. At this time, King Daksha, afflicted by love and affection, was very much awakened to his real senses. With great endeavor, he pacified his mind, checked his feelings, and with pure consciousness began to offer prayers to Lord Shiva. Hare Krishna.
All right. So, straightforward verses. And in part 2, verses 13 to 15, Daksha's prayers unto Lord Shiva. And in these verses also is the discussion that why did Lord Shiva punish Daksha? A little more discussion. We already discussed in one of the previous verses, but it's a little more discussion also. Uncle will read 13 to 15 translations and purports.
Hare Krishna. Translation number 13. King Daksha said, "My dear Lord Shiva, I committed a great offense against you. But you are so kind that instead of withdrawing your mercy, you have done me a great favor by punishing me. You and Lord Vishnu never neglect even useless, unqualified Brahmanas. Why then should you neglect me? Who am I? Who am engaged in performing sacrifices?" Purport. Although Daksha felt defeated, he knew that his punishment was simply the great mercy of Lord Shiva. He remembered that Lord Shiva and Lord Vishnu are never neglectful of the Brahmanas, even though the Brahmanas are sometimes unqualified. According to Vedic civilization, the descendant of Brahmana family should never be heavily punished. This was exemplified in Arjuna's treatment of Ashwatthama. Ashwatthama was even son of great Brahmanas, Dronacharya, and in spite of his having committed the great offense of killing all the sleeping sons of Pandavas, for which he was condemned even by Lord Krishna, Arjuna accused him by not killing him because he happened to be the son of Brahmana. The word Brahma Bandhu used here is significant. Brahma Bandhu means a person who is born of a Brahmana father, but those activities are not up to the standard of the Brahmanas. Such a person is not a Brahmana, but Brahmana Bandhu. Daksha proved himself to be a Brahmana Bandhu He was born of a great Brahmana father, Lord Brahma, and his treatment of Lord Shiva was not exactly Brahminical. Therefore, he admitted that he was not perfect Brahmana. Lord Shiva and Lord Vishnu, however, are affectionate even to an imperfect Brahmana. Lord Shiva punished Daksha, not as one does his enemy, rather he punished Daksha just to bring him to his senses so that he would know that he had done wrong. Daksha could understand this and he acknowledged the great mercy of Lord Krishna and Lord Shiva towards the fallen Brahmanas, including even himself. Although he was fallen, he was to execute the sacrifice as is the duty of the Brahmanas. And thus began his prayer to Lord Shiva.
So just a quick pause that Shalini's question about punishment gets answered further here, where Daksha is saying that Shiva punished Daksha just to bring Daksha back to his senses. So Shalini?
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you.
Uncle, continue.
Text 14, translation. My dear great and powerful Lord Shiva, you were created first from the mouth of Lord Brahma in order to protect the Brahmanas in pursuing education, austerities, vows, and self-realization. As protector of the Brahmanas, you always protect the regulative principles they follow. Just as a cowherd boy keeps a stick in his hand and give protection to the cows. Purport. The specific function of a human being in society, irrespective of his social status, is to practice control of the mind and senses by observing the regulative principles enjoined in the Vedic Shastras. Lord Shiva is called Pashupati because he protects the living entities in their developed consciousness so that they may follow the Vedic system of Varna and Ashrama. The word Pasu refers to the animal as well as to the human entity. It is stated here that Lord Shiva is always interested in protecting the animals and in the animalistic living entities who are not very advanced in the spiritual sense. It is also stated that the Brahmanas are produced from the mouth of the Supreme Lord. We should always remember that Lord Shiva is being addressed as the representative of the Supreme Lord Vishnu. In the Vedic literature, it is described that the Brahmanas are born from the mouth of the universal form of Vishnu. The Kshatriyas are born from his arms, the Vaishyas from his abdomen or waist, and the Sudras from his legs. In the formation of the body, the head is the principal factor. The Brahmanas are born from the mouth of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in order to accept charity for worship of Vishnu and to spread Vedic knowledge. Lord Shiva is known as Pashupati, the protector of the Brahmanas and other living entities. He protects them from the attacks of non-Brahmanas or uncultured persons who are against self-realization process. Another feature of this word is that persons who are simply attached to ritualistic portion of the Vedas and do not understand the situation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead are not any more advanced than animals. In the beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam, it is confirmed that even though one performs the rituals of Vedas, if he does not develop sense of Krishna consciousness, then all his labor in performing Vedic rituals is considered to be simply a waste of time. Lord Shiva's aim in destroying Daksha's yagna was to punish Daksha because by neglecting him, Lord Shiva, Daksha was committing a great offense. Lord Shiva's punishment was just like that of a cowherd boy who keeps a stick to frighten his animals. It is commonly said that to give protection to animals, a stick is needed because animals cannot reason and argue. The reasoning and argument is argumentum ad baculum. Unless there is a rod, they do not obey. Force is required for the animalistic class of men, whereas those who are advanced are convinced by reasons, arguments, and spiritual authority. Persons who are simply attached to Vedic rituals without further advancement of devotional service or Krishna consciousness are almost like animals, and Lord Shiva is in charge of giving the protection and sometimes punishing them as he punished Daksha. Prabhuji, you want me to read 15?
Yeah.
Translation 15. I did not know your full glories. For this reason, I threw arrows of sharp words at you in the open assembly. Although you did not take them into account, I was going down to hell because of my disobedience to you, who are the most respectable personality. But you took compassion upon me and saved me by avoiding punishment. I request that you be pleased by your own mercy, since I cannot satisfy you by my words. Purport. As usual, a devotee in adverse condition of life accepts such a condition to be the mercy of the Lord. Actually, the insulting words used by Daksha against the Lord Shiva were enough to have him thrown perpetually into a hellish life. But Lord Shiva, being kind towards him, awarded him punishment to neutralize the offense. King Daksha realized this and, feeling obliged for Lord Shiva's magnanimous behavior, wanted to show his gratitude. Sometimes a father punishes his child, and when the child is grown up and comes to his senses, he understands that the father's punishment was not actually punishment, but mercy. Similarly, Daksha appreciated the punishment offered to him by Lord Shiva was a manifestation of Lord Shiva's mercy. This is the symptom of a person making progress on the path of Krishna consciousness. It is said that a devotee in Krishna consciousness never takes any miserable conditions of life to be condemnation by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He accepts the miserable condition to be the grace of the Lord. He thinks, I would have been punished or put into more dangerous conditions of life due to my past misdeeds, but the Lord has protected me. Thus, I have received only a little punishment as token of execution of the law of karma. Thinking of his grace in that way, a devotee always surrenders to the Supreme Personality of Godhead more and more seriously, and is not disturbed by such called punishment, so-called punishment. Hare Krishna.
So why did Shiva punish Daksha?
Very clearly spelled.
Okay, why did he punish?
To bring him to his
into consciousness.
Repeat.
token of execution of karma, a token, because punishment is required to make people to come back to their senses.
So analogy is given that just as a coward boy has a stick to frighten the animals, but he's not punishing. He's just trying to keep the animals in order while, say, the coward boy is herding the cows. And the stick is not for punishment. The stick is actually for protection of the animal, that the animal doesn't go away here or there. Because animals cannot reason and cannot argue. So you need a little stick just to get them on track. It's not actually punishment. It's just to get such animals or even humans, like how the father punished his son, to get those humans back on track, to within their sense control. Shalini.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, when we were reading the purport of text 15, I was just recollecting when during services in the Srimati Radhanani's kitchen, many times if one of our devotees, we cut our hand or somebody, slips and falls or something, I remember you always saying that, larger calamity has been because it is during devotional service, it's Krishna's mercy. A larger calamity has been forfeited by whatever has happened, Prabhu. Little has happened.
Yeah, very good remembrance. So this Prabhupada has explained this, that karma is destined. You cannot avoid it. Karma is like a weather forecast. It's already destined. But when you do devotional service, Srimati Radharani and Krishna wash away the bad karma by just giving a simple cut. Say on a finger, you put on a band-aid and you continue your devotional services. So that bigger misery gets taken care of by a simple cut that you just put a band-aid on. Very good remembrance and correlation. Questions, comments, realizations?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, I had just one more small clarification purport of text 14. The last line. Persons who are simply attached to Vedic rituals without further advancement of devotional service or Krishna consciousness are almost like animals, and Lord Shiva is in charge of giving them protection and sometimes punishing them as he punished Daksha. Prabhu, but many of because in India especially, there's so many people for material benedictions. They're all Shaivites or followers of Lord Shiva. But then Lord Shiva easily fulfills the material desires also, Prabhu. So here there's no punishment, right?
So understand that material world is a place of punishment. So if somebody is giving you material benediction, that actually is punishment, that you are one continuing the cycle of birth and death. But what Lord Shiva does is that all these people who are in the lower mode of ignorance, we read in the previous one of the previous chapters as the qualities of Shiva, that Shiva even elevates these people in the mode of ignorance. So yes, they are getting their material benedictions satisfied. Simultaneously, Shiva also elevates them, but that elevation is very gradual, like a drop by drop by drop. So we may not see the result immediately, or even not see the result in the same lifetime, because that's a very slow process. Shalini?
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhu.
Prabhuji, in that context, I am sharing what I am exposed to people. They don't have the concept of birth and death. And the birth and death, they are miserable right from the womb. And that realization is practically nil, even to me. Material benefits always I relished and cherished. But after reading Srimad Bhagavatam to a small extent and Bhagavad Gita, the realization comes. But common people are still ignorant. That is my submission, Prabhuji.
Yeah, you are correct that common people are ignorant, and therefore we do preaching so that at some point of time they understand and come to Krishna consciousness. All right. So now part 3 is verses 16 to 25. Daksha starts sacrifice and Lord Vishnu arrives. Mother Jija's 16 to 19 translations are straightforward.
Text 16. The great sage Maitreya said, thus being pardoned by Lord Shiva, King Daksha, with the permission of Lord Brahma, again began the performance of the yajna along with the great learned sage, the priests and others. Text 17. Thereafter, in order to resume the activities of sacrifice, the Brahmanas first arranged to purify the sacrificial arena of the contamination caused by the touch of Veerabhadra and the other ghostly followers of Lord Shiva. Then they arranged to offer into the fire the oblations known as Purodasa. Text 18. The great sage Maitreya said to Vidura, "My dear Vidura, as soon as King Daksha offered the clarified butter with Yajurveda mantras in sanctified meditation, Lord Vishnu appeared there in his original form as Narayana." Text 19. Lord Narayana was seated on the shoulder of Stotra or Garuda, who had big wings. As soon as the Lord appeared, all directions were illuminated, diminishing the luster of Brahma and the others present. Hare Krishna.
Straightforward verses. In verses 20 and 21, Lord's beautiful form is described now that Lord has appeared at the sacrifice. Kalyani or Sridhar Prabhu, 2021 translations and purports. We cannot hear you.
Appeared on both sides of the Lord like white swans, and the white canopy overhead looked like the moon. Translation. Purport. The smiling face of Lord Vishnu is pleasing to the whole world. Not only devotees, but even non-devotees are attracted by such a smile. This verse nicely describes how the sun, moon, eight-petal lotus flower, and humming black bees were represented by the fans of hair, the overhead canopy, the moving earrings on both sides of his face, and its blackish hair, altogether accompanied by the conch shell, wheel club, lotus flower, bow, arrow, shield, and sword in his hands. These presented a grand and a beautiful audience for Lord Vishnu, which captivated all the demigods here, including Lord Daksha and Lord Brahma.
Kalyani,
Text 22. As soon as Lord Vishnu was visible, all the demigods,
Okay, Kalyani, you are reading wrong. I want you to read 20 translation and purport. Unmute again and then read. Kalyani, unmute and then read 20 translation and purport. Shalini, 20 translation and 21 purport also.
Hare Krishna. Text 20. Translation. His complexion was blackish, his garment yellow like gold, and his helmet was as dazzling as the sun. His hair was bluish, the color of black bees, and his face was decorated with earrings. His 8 hands held the conch shell, wheel, club, lotus flower, arrow, bow, shield, and sword, and they were decorated with golden ornaments such as bangles and bracelets. His whole body resembled a blossoming tree beautifully decorated with various kinds of flowers. Purport. The face of Lord Vishnu, as described in this verse, appears like the lotus flower with bees humming over it. All the ornaments on the body of Lord Vishnu resemble molten gold of the reddish gold color of the morning sunrise. The Lord appears just as the morning sun rises to protect the whole universal creation. His arms display different weapons, and his 8 hands are compared to the 8 petals of a lotus flower. All the weapons mentioned are for the protection of his devotees. Generally, in the 4 hands of Vishnu, there is a wheel, club, conch shell, and lotus flower. These 4 symbols are seen in the 4 hands of Vishnu in different arrangements. The club and the wheel are Lord's symbol of punishment for the demons and miscreants, and the lotus flower and conch shell are used to bless the devotees. There are always two classes of men, the devotees and the demons. As confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, Paritranaya Sadhunam, the Lord is always ready for the protection of the devotees and annihilation of the demons. There are demons and devotees in this material world, but in the spiritual world there is no such distinction. In other words, Lord Vishnu is the proprietor of both the material and spiritual worlds. In the material world, almost everyone is of the demoniac nature, but there are also devotees who appear to be in the material world, although they are always situated in the spiritual world. A devotee's protection is always transcendental, and he is always protected by Lord Vishnu. Text 21. Translation. Lord Vishnu looked extraordinarily beautiful because the goddess of fortune had a garland was situated on his chest. His face was beautifully decorated with a smiling attitude which can captivate the entire world, especially the devotees. Fans of white hair appeared on both sides of the Lord like white swans, and the white canopy overhead looked like the moon. Purport. The smiling face of Lord Vishnu is pleasing to the whole world. Not only devotees but even non-devotees are attracted by such a smile. This verse nicely describes how the sun, moon, eight-petal lotus flower, and humming black bees were represented by the fans of hair, the overhead canopy, the moving earrings on both sides of his face, and his blackish hair. All together accompanied by the conch shell, wheel, club, lotus flower, bow, arrows, shield, and sword in his hands. These presented a grand and beautiful audience for Lord Vishnu, which captivated all the demigods there, including Daksha and Lord Brahma. Hare Krishna.
So, some good description of the Lord. And next set of verses, demigods offer prayers to the Lord. So 22, 23, 24, and 25 are straightforward. As well as in 24 purport, Prabhupada explains the medicine and diet of spiritual life, and is chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra is the medicine, prasad is the diet, and the ability to pray to the Lord is by Lord's mercy. Kalyani, you can try again if your voice is clear now. 22 to 25 translations. Kalyani, unmute.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhu, there is some signal issue at our end, Prabhu.
All right, we'll
So-
get Mother Chandra Aunty to read 22 to 25 translations.
Text 22. As soon as the Lord Vishnu was visible, all the demigods, Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, the Gandharvas, and all present there, immediately offered their respectful obeisances by falling down straight before him. Text 23, translation. In the presence of glaring effulgence of the bodily luster of Narayana, everyone else's luster faded away, and everyone stopped speaking, fearful with awe and veneration. All present touched their hands to their head and prepared to offer their prayers to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Adokshaja. Text 24. Although the mental scope of even the demigods like Brahma was unable to comprehend the unlimited glories of the Supreme Lord, they were all able to perceive that transcendental form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead by His grace. Only by such grace could they offer their respectful prayers according to their different capacities. Text 25. When Lord Vishnu accepted the obeisances offered in the sacrifice, Daksha, the Prajapati, began with great pleasure to offer respectful prayers unto him. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is actually the master of all sacrifices and preceptors of all the Prajapatis. And he is served even by such personalities as Nanda and Sunanda. Hare Krishna.
Straightforward verses about prayers. All right, we won't cover more verses. Homework questions. Number 1. What general principles does Srila Prabhupada draw from exchange of Daksha's head with that of a goat? Comes from verse number 5. Second, what is the main point of verse 9 and the purport? Third, why did Lord Shiva punish Daksha? From verse 13 and 14. And for next class, read rest of chapter 7 if you have not already read. So we will finish chapter 7 in this unit 15 at our next class on May 31st. And then the following 2 classes will revise these 7 chapters. So we'll revise chapters 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on June 7th and chapter 6 and 7 on June 14th. So you have the Google Excel on the screen, as well as you already have the link to it. You can populate your names in column G, which is highlighted in yellow, as to which presentation you plan to do. So 5 chapters we'll do on June 7th and then 6 and 7 on June 14th. Otherwise, it will be too much of a rush. So follow the Google Excel and go from there. Hare Krishna. In essence of time, I have to start the next class. We'll stop here. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you.